What is masculinity? People seem to know it when they see it. They sense it. They react to it. They evaluate it. But if you ask most men to define masculinity, you get a lot of confused and conflicting answers. In many cases, you'll get a lecture about morality, about what a real man should do, about what he shouldn't do, about what he should wear, how he should behave. The answers and the rules, they change from social class to social class, and from culture to culture. So much so, in fact, that many people believe masculinity doesn't mean anything at all, that it's just a social construct. And to support their point, they tend to study and write about different groups of men and their different ideas about masculinity. When I wrote The Way of Men, I wanted to look at those different groups of men and their different ideas about masculinity, and I wanted to see what those ideas actually had in common. And I wanted to figure out why those common values have always been so important to men. If you asked most men throughout history and around the world for a list of qualities that they'd associate with masculinity, the vast majority of them would agree that a man should be strong, courageous, competent, and honorable. Those are what I call the four tactical virtues: strength, courage, mastery, and honor. They are the qualities that men would want from each other, that they would need from each other, that they would demand from each other in a survival scenario. Just imagine that the building you're in right now is surrounded by zombies. Aren't those the qualities you'd want in the men who are on your side? It's pretty straightforward, like picking a sports team. Now, strength, courage, mastery, and honor, they're not exclusive to men, but it has always been more important for men to have those qualities. We evolved in a far more dangerous world. For tens of thousands of years, it was our job, the first job of men, to separate us from them, from the outside world, from nature, from danger, from other men, to protect the perimeter of our tribe, and, if necessary, to go out and take the things our tribe needed, or the things that they wanted. Biologists write a lot about sexual selection, about how women select men and how men select women. But masculinity is at least as much about how men select each other. It's about men trying to prove themselves to each other. It's about men trying to prove that they belong on the team. Humans have always been social animals. They survived and evolved in groups with clear sex roles, much like chimpanzees, who also hunt and fight, and even make war. It's always been the job of men to hunt, to fight, to protect the perimeter. Men who weren't strong enough, courageous enough, competent enough, men who didn't care what other men thought of them, men who, for whatever reason, were unwilling or unable to carry their own weight, men who just didn't make the team. Well, it's reasonable to assume that they either ended up with the women and children and became a burden, or they were just out of the tribe, alone, on their own, in a far more dangerous world. They probably died. And when you're dead, your genes don't make it to the next round. The men who were able to prove to each other that they were strong, courageous, competent, and honorable, the men who made the team, they had a much better chance of having their genes make it to the next round. They made us who we are. Now, today, very few of us have to hunt or fight or protect the perimeter. We barely have to get out of bed. But that doesn't erase tens of thousands of years of evolutionary history. It doesn't erase our natural desire to be men, to prove strength, courage, mastery, or honor, any more than realizing that the world really doesn't need that many more children. It makes us want to stop having sex. It's a natural drive, and it's part of who we are. One of the reasons the topic of masculinity has always been so confusing is that people in power have always exploited the natural desire of men to be seen as masculine. They use the idea of masculinity to manipulate men, to get them to sign on to their own agenda. Today, people who don't want men to act like men are doing the exact same thing. They say that men are insecure, that they're afraid of women, that they're afraid of change. This is just another trick, another way to say that men who don't do as they're told are weak, inept, cowards. Feminists and many world leaders and organizations say that we should redefine masculinity. They want masculinity to mean whatever they say it should mean, or almost nothing at all. They say that we shouldn't pressure men to be strong or courageous anymore because we don't need them to be strong or courageous anymore. Whether or not you agree with that comes down to a question of philosophy. What kind of men would you rather have? What kind of man would you rather be? Would you rather be strong, courageous, competent, and honorable? Or would you rather be surrounded by men who are weak, cowardly, inept, careless, men who don't even care about being men? Those are two different ways, two different futures for men. The future you choose for yourself, for the men around you, for your sons. The future you choose will ultimately determine the way of men.
If you're a good boy and you follow the rules, if you learn how to speak passively and inoffensively, if you can convince some other poor sleepwalking sap that you are possessed with an almost unhealthy desire to provide outstanding customer service or increase operational efficiency through the improvement of internal processes and effective organizational communication, if you can say like that without laughing, if your record checks out and your pee smells right, you can get yourself a job. Maybe you can be the guy who administers the test or authorizes the insurance policy. Maybe you can be the guy who helps make some soulless global corporation a little more money. Maybe you can get a pat on the head for coming up with the bright idea to put a bunch of other guys out of work and outsource their boring jobs to guys in some other place who are willing to work longer hours for less money. Whatever you do, no matter what people say, no matter how many team-building activities you attend, or how many birthday cards you get from someone's secretary, you will know that you are a completely replaceable unit of labor in the big scheme of things. No sprawling bureaucracy or global corporation can ever love you. They have public relations budgets and human resources departments to protect their interests and their bottom lines. There is no us. A legal entity can't care if you live or die or if you're happy. If you're a good boy, if you're well-groomed and have a job and you learn to say the right things, maybe you can convince a nice girl to let you give her a baby and help her pay for it. If that's not your thing, you can spend your money getting drunk or busy yourself trying to hump whatever strikes your fancy. Sex, after all, is social in the bonobo masturbation society. You'll have the hard-won right to rub yourself against whatever makes you feel good, as long as you follow the rules. If you're a good boy, you can curl up in the womb of your safe little Soviet Nouveau block apartment with your comfy stuff and enjoy your measured indulgences, your gourmet food, your microbrew. You can busy yourself trying to master the art of erasing your own carbon footprint, or you can do your part by biking to work, weaving recklessly through a barrage of trucks and cars that could crush you for the sheer thrill of it. Maybe you'll take a class and get your permit, and after another clerk confirms that you are competent enough to be licensed and properly insured, you'll be able to do something really crazy, like ride a motorcycle. Maybe you'll pay someone to let you play a game or run a race or put on a safety harness and climb fake rocks. If not, you can always watch someone else do it on TV. Maybe you'll get yourself worked up about some petty inequity or injustice and participate in some non-violent resistance. Maybe you'll convince yourself that you are making a difference by standing in the same place with other people and shouting angrily at people who don't care. If you prefer, you can get online and vent your confused, impotent, vainglorious rage by playing the anonymous tough guy on some blog or forum. Or you can just say, then spend all of your money on video games that give you the vicarious thrill of slaughtering hordes of aggressive others. You can obsess over your fantasy football team, and there are always hobbies. You can find yourself something harmless and inoffensive to pass the time. Perhaps gardening. You can start a band or tinker with cars. Become a movie buff. You can paint little figurines of warriors. You can even get dressed up in costumes and do live-action role-playing. Whatever you do, just find some way to busy yourself. There's nothing wrong with any of these things. All of them are fun. What is fun? If not masturbating your primal brain a little? I like having fun. There is no harm in a little fun, which is why it is called fun, and not something deadly serious like survival or war. If that is all, if your life is all about chasing fun, is that enough? Is this level of civilization, is all of this peace and plenty worth the cost? How long will men be satisfied to replay and reinvent the conflict dramas of the past through books and movies and games without the hope of experiencing any meaningful conflict in their own lives? When will we grow tired of hearing the stories of great men long dead?